Hey guys, and welcome to our session today. So got a lot of you on here, 68 of you here. So many of you, thank you so much for joining me. I understand that right now is it's a challenging time, isn't it? So thank you all for joining and being here. All right, so today what we're going to be talking about is the Noble Guide to Jazz Piano. That is going to be coming out April 1st, all right, and it's going to be really, really fun. So today we're going to talk about how to get prepared for that. So let's dig right in. If you have any questions, I'm going to I'll be taking questions later on, so be sure to chat in your questions, all right? There's also a spot in which you can, some of you already see a Q&A. Mike's into the Q&A, so I will answer that at the end. But if you have any more questions, just mark it as a question because it kind of shows up differently on my screen here if it's a question, a little bit easier to follow. All right, so first of all, what is the Noble Guide to Jazz Piano? What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be teaching you the 6 pillars of jazz piano playing, and I'm going to be doing that for all levels, where there's going to be like a kind of a beginner track, and there's going to be more an intermediate and advanced track. So now, as you guys know, but if you don't know my story, I mean, I started when I was very young. I could just barely sit at the piano. My dad taught me how to play the piano. It wasn't until I was 15 that I started to study with a teacher, but I started gigging at 15. Actually, it was 14. 14, I started studying with a teacher, and then I started gigging as well. Went to Berkeley and have written a bunch of books on music for kids and adults, and been teaching online for 20 years now. Jazz piano lessons started in the year 2000, believe it or not. All right, so the Noble Guide will be free, sort of, all right? And what I mean by that is, and I'm going to explain a little bit more later on, I want to get into the meat of it, but basically what I mean is that it will be available on YouTube, but there are going to be some limitations. I'll get to that a little bit later. All right, so first of all, what are the 6 pillars of jazz piano? They are rhythm, progression, voicings, improvisation, accompaniment, and style. So these are the 6 areas that I have found when working with students where they really need some focus, okay? Now, obviously, you might say, well, wait a second, there's other things involved, like transposition and, music theory and stuff like that. Yes, of course, all right? But we're just trying to get started with our foundational pillars, and these are the 6 areas that you just have to know. So let's go through them right now. We start with rhythm, and then after we go through rhythm, then we move on to progression, then voicings, then improvisation, accompaniment, and style, all right? Rhythm is extremely important, and let me explain here. You have to have a great foundation of rhythm to be a good pianist, let alone a good jazz pianist. So what I've done here is I'm going to go through all 6 of them. I'm going to tell you kind of like what you should have and then what you should practice. To get down good rhythm, you should have a metronome. You should also have some access to some drum beats or backing tracks. Even if you have like a piano like this and you can put on like a drum beat like that, that's absolutely fine. There's also metronomes built into a lot of these digital keyboards as well. That's absolutely fine as well. Question you might have, hey, should I practice with a metronome or should I practice with a drum beat? The answer is you could practice with either. In fact, there are benefits to practicing with both, especially when we get into the style section. I'll talk about it more then, okay? Now, what you should be practicing, go through the Rhythm Essentials course, all right? That is on the JAZZEDGE site. It's also on the Piano with Willie site, okay? If you haven't gone through that course, definitely go through that course. That would be a great course. You want to make sure that you understand the vocalization of rhythms. We will be going through it on the Noble Guide to Jazz Piano, but what you're going to find is we got 30 days in April to go through this. So obviously I'm not going to spend 25 days on rhythm, so it's going to be a very cursory look at some of these aspects. So the more you kind of prepare yourself before April 1st rolls around, the better off you'll be. Get up to speed on your vocalization. Remember, the quarter notes are da, the eighth notes are di, ba, right? So make sure you understand da, 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 di, ba, di, ba, di, ba, di, ba, da, di, ba, da, da. Make sure that you understand that vocalization. All of that is in that Rhythm Essentials. In fact, the Mastering Rhythms lesson is great. There's a great booklet that you can download. It explains downbeats, upbeats. It's very visual. It's a really great lesson to go through. So if you need any rhythm help, go through that Rhythm Essentials lesson. The other thing is make sure you're clapping and tapping your rhythms. So a lot of times when I'm working with students, when they have difficulty playing rhythms, I will tell them to vocalize it. And it'll do like a da, da, dee, ba, da. And then they get right into playing it, okay? So you want to make sure you start with the vocalization first. Look at the rhythm, vocalize the rhythm, then try clapping and tapping it, all right? So try clapping it, right? And then tapping it, and then playing it. Right? So the point is really make sure that you get the rhythm inside of you first before you try to play it at the piano. That's how you're going to be most successful. Now, hey, look, this is no bull, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. You want to just try sitting down and playing it, then go ahead and do it. But you're likely going to find that you're going to make more mistakes that way. So I'm just telling you stuff that I know works, and I've seen it work. And when students try and forge their own path, unfortunately, it doesn't always work out the way that it should. So if you want to really make sure you get your rhythm down, make sure that you're vocalizing it first. All right, next thing is progression. Progression and form are pretty much the same thing. You know, I like to boil things down for you so that we're not, you know, getting too heady with our theory. Well, Willie, you know, no. Progression, form. When I'm talking about the form of a song, I'm talking about the progression of the song. What is a progression? A progression is a series of chords. Okay, if I just play C, well, that's not a progression. I'm just playing one chord. But if I go from C to F to G to C, now I'm playing a progression. I'm playing a 1-4-5 progression. The form is, well, how long am I playing each one of those chords and how long is the entire section, all right? But pretty much you want to get down that progression. You want to understand the form of your songs. You have to also memorize the form. This is really, really critical. For any of you that want to improvise, all right, and then improvisation is going to be a key element of the Noble Guide to Jazz Piano. Well, because it's jazz piano, right? So improvisation. So for any of you that want to improvise, you have to know the form of the song. You have to have the progression down. So what that means is whatever you want to improvise over, you want to do Autumn Leaves, well, you're going to make sure that you know C minor 7, F7, B flat, E flat, A minor 7, flat 5, D7, G minor. Like, you got to know those chords, you have to know how to play those chords, and you have to know that progression. So for the No Bull Guide, knowing the 12-bar blues form is going to be critical. There are lessons on the site. You know, you can take a look at the Learn Jazz Piano Basics lesson. That would be great for the 12-bar blues. But basically, that 12-bar blues form is going to be critical. You also want to make sure you have the ability to record yourself. So just your phone, an iPad, just some kind of recording device, because you're going to want to share the recordings, because we're going to kind of like do some jams and stuff like that. But then also, it's a great way of you being able to see your progress, okay? So make sure that you're able to record yourself and have a phone or a tablet so that you can do that. The should practice, memorize that 12-bar blues progression, and then also practice your C7, your F7, and your G7 chord shells. So those are the 3 chord shells. So if you want to prepare for this, get those chord shells together. Really be able to go back and forth between those chord shells nice and fluid. See, I could talk to you while going through these chord shells. I don't have to look at the piano. I could play that chord shell, go back and forth. You're right. The more that you have that chord shell down and the more that you could play it without looking at your hands, the better off you're going to be. Voicings. Voicings are basically how you arrange the notes of the chord. So if I play a C7 chord, that's one way of voicing the chord. A chord shell is another way of voicing the chord. So again, what you should have is the 12-bar blues printed, because you're going to need those chords. And then also the chord voicing sheet. Now, one thing I didn't put in this presentation is if you go back to the JAZZEDGE site and you go to the knowledge base, under the next steps, you're going to see it says resources. Okay, and I will show that to you real quick right now. All right, so under the resources, I have a bunch of really great resources that just fantastic to download. So one of those is the chord chart. So if I just go to my site here and I go to the knowledge base, which is that little question mark, and then I come down here to where it says resources, I need to be logged in, okay, in order to be able to download these resources. That's just how incredibly valuable they are. You must be logged in. All right, so the resources, and then here you go, your chord charts right here, and then shazam, you got all your chords right there. C major 7, rootless major 7, minor 7, rootless minor 7, dominant 7th, rootless dominant 7th. So right there, real key piece of information there. So make sure that you log in and you download those resources, okay? For the no bowl guide to jazz piano, we're not going to do the rootless voicings for the beginners, okay? We're going to be doing more of just the plain old block chords and the shells. So if you're more of a beginner to improvisation and chords, then don't worry about the rootless voicings. Just focus on the main, dominant 7th voicings. And another note, right now, just work on the dominant 7ths. Don't worry about the majors and the minors. And really, all you need is C7, F7, and G7. Those are the 3 that you're going to need right away. So should practice. Practice the full 7th chord, like I just showed you. Practice the shell, C7, F7, G7, and then also take a look at piano essentials. Technique is going to be extremely important, especially when we talk about improvisation, which is next. All right, so the question I have up at the top, do you notice how improvisation is the 4th pillar and not the 1st? Now, this is going to be a rhetorical question, so don't bother chatting this in. But the question is, well, why? And let's just real quickly go back to the pillars here. So you got rhythm, you have progression, then you have voicings, then improvisation. So why is improvisation the 4th pillar? Well, rhythm is number 1 because guess what? Without good rhythm, you might as well just pack it up, turn the keyboard off, shut the piano down, okay? Because without good rhythm, you got nothing. The next thing after that, you have to have a progression, okay? You can't create voicings unless you know what the progression is that you're going to create the voicings to. So we have to start with a progression, and then we have to be solid and say, okay, that's going to be the progression. Like, for instance, I could just say, all right, we're going to go from C7 to F7 to C7 to F7, and that's it. Okay, well, that's my progression. I got to know that progression before I can make those chord voicings. Third is the chord voicings, because if we don't have voicings, then we have nothing that we can play in the left hand. Then all we're going to be doing is just improvising with the right hand, which, okay, that's cool, but we really want to, as pianists, be able to play 2 hands. So it's super important that we make sure that we have rhythm, progressions, and voicings down before we try jumping into improvisation. Again, this is years of teaching, okay? I think about this a lot. I go through pedagogy and curriculum, and I've done this a long, long time, and I know what works. And if you don't get those 3 down first, then your improvisation is going to be severely limited, right? So I don't want to see that happen to you guys. So make sure that you get some rhythm down, get that pretty solid, okay? And when I say solid, I don't mean you have to be a master of rhythm, progressions, and voicings. I just mean for right now, for the no bowl guide, we want to make sure we get some quarter notes and eighth notes and be able to vocalize that. We understand the 12-bar blues progression, and we know how to play some basic 7th chords, all right? So as long as we have that, then now we could focus on improvisation. And for improvisation, we're going to need the backing tracks, and we're going to need some basic technique. That's where the piano essentials comes in. When you go through and you just practice those major scales, right? You know how to play all those major scales. That is going to be your technique. That's going to get your fingers moving. Boy, my fingers are cold right now. All right, so that's going to get your fingers moving, and that's going to give you the technique that you need in order to be able to express yourself during improvisation. Remember, improvisation is not I just sit here and the heavens open up and then, like, now magically I know what to play. It doesn't work like that, okay? Improvisation can absolutely be learned. And all of the students over the years, like hundreds and hundreds of students who have told me, oh, I can't improvise, and then on the back end of that are like, oh yeah, okay, now I can improvise, all right? What they realize is that improvisation can be learned. It can be taught, it can be learned. And part of Improvising is having enough technique to be able to take what you hear in your ears, feel in your soul, know in your brain to be able to express at the piano. So if you don't have the technique and the fluidity to be able to move around, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to fully express yourself at the instrument. One analogy of that is, if you don't understand language, if I'm trying to speak in French and I don't know French, and I don't have that vocabulary, well, how am I really going to be able to say what I want to say if I don't have that technique, right? So super important. So what you should practice, piano essentials, practice that C minor pentatonic scale, which is those notes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just practice that, going up and down, just to get comfortable with that. And in the blues scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to explain in the no bow guide while we go up to here, but it's this block and it's that block. Fingering is 1, 2, 3, 4. Cross underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you have to do it in the left hand? No, don't worry about doing it in the left hand. Sometimes students want to do it in the left hand. If you want a challenge, hey, knock yourself out. But we're going to be mostly doing chords, bass lines, that kind of stuff in the left hand. All right, so in the right hand, 1, 2, 3, cross underneath, 1, 2, 3. That's your minor pentatonic. Do I have to do it 2 octaves? No, just 1 octave is absolutely fine for right now. Blues scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But make sure you get out of the octave on that one, and that's going to be explained more fully when we move on with that. All right, so accompaniment. Accompaniment is basically what do we do in our left hand. Again, that's a general, it doesn't mean that we always have to play the accompaniment with our left hand, but at this stage of the game, it's usually accompaniment left hand, improvisation right hand. So like chords in the left hand. It might be like licks or phrases in the right hand, improvisation in the right hand while playing some chords in the left hand. So you need to have and should have, again, a metronome. Notice I have here solo piano trap, right? You'll see sometimes solo piano players like, or let me back it up. You'll see like a group player like, right? Getting time down, because they understand when playing with a bass player or a drummer or whatnot, you need to have time. Then you'll see the solo players like, have you seen that, right? Where it's like, time is like, pooh, gone. Where's time? And honestly, for me personally, that's one of the most annoying things to listen to, is when somebody's playing just like this out of time thing. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's like a ballad rubato. That's fine. Sure, that would be out of time. But I'm saying like something that should be in time being played out of time because the player never focused on their rhythm and never focused on their time. So you don't want to do that. Now, if you want to be able to play freely like that and mess around with the time, and you know how to play in time, then hey, hats off, fine, no problem with that. That's absolutely fine. But there's a difference between knowing how to do something and deciding not to do it versus not knowing how to do it and not doing it because you never had the skill to begin with. Okay? So we want the former versus the latter. We want to be able to have the skill being able to play in time and then be able to improvise over the top. So make sure you have a metronome and then also make sure that you have your progressions memorized. It's going to be very difficult for you to play an accompaniment if you don't have the progression memorized. See a pattern going on here, that progression being memorized? Should practice. Great course on the JAZZEDGE site and the No Bowl site, the Learn Jazz Piano, the basics, fantastic course. The other one, Essential Comping Techniques. That one is on that one is on JAZZEDGE. That one is an extremely valuable course. There's some great stuff in there talking about different comping patterns, bass lines, like a whole bunch of stuff. So that's a great course or a great lesson to take a look at. And that's all under the chord voicings and comping course. I know that got cut off there, but that says course there, all right? So chord voicings and comping course, that's a great one to take a look at. All right, so moving on. Style. Style refers to being able to play in different styles like bossa, rock, funk, jazz, okay, swing. And we're not going to get into too much of that in the No Bowl guide because that's a little bit more advanced. But there are lessons on the JAZZEDGE site for that. If you just do a search, you see I kind of highlighted some of them there, but they're a little bit small, but you can see like boogie woogie style, creating your own style, locked hand style, changing the style, jazz waltz style. There's a whole bunch of Latin and bossa nova lessons on the site as well. So that's where you just kind of go and do a search for the word style on JAZZEDGE, and then that will come up with a bunch of stuff. You need to have a solid rhythm, again, in order to be able to do different styles. And you want to also be able to access different drum tracks. Like I said, that's where the drum tracks come in. So if I put on my style here, okay, and what's great about some of these things is like I could just literally like spin this dial around. I have no idea what it is. I'm not going to look, and I'm going to be like... All right, so then if I turn this style again, all right, so if I turn the style again, so anyway, you get the point, all right? So being able to play in different styles, that's where the drum beats come in, and they help because, well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, right? I mean, like when you have the different drum beat like that, it kind of like gives you different rhythmic ideas, and you can kind of get into that groove. It's kind of hard sometimes just to play like, all right, playing a different style right now when you don't have something to go off of. So the drum beats are very, very valuable. There's a bunch of drum beats also on the site as well. If you go again into the, the knowledge base, you'll see a section in there where it says drum beats to practice with. You can download those drum beats and practice with those as well. The other thing is the Chord Essentials course, right? That's JAZZEDGE, Noble Piano, Piano Willie, all the sites. Okay, the Chord Essentials course is great because there are 10 different styles in all 12 keys. So it's 120 different examples. So super, super valuable. All right, so moving on here. Next steps. All right, so the first thing is what I'd like you to do is go to jazzedge.com/YouTube. All right, that's going to take you to my YouTube channel, and then a box is going to pop up, which is going to look like this. It's going to say confirm channel subscription. You want to hit subscribe, and I'm going to explain why in a second. You also want to make sure that you turn on notifications. Like, so when you go to my videos and you subscribe, you want to make sure that you turn on notifications from my channel, because I'm going to be releasing a new video every day, and those videos are not going to stay on YouTube. I'm going to explain again in a second. Then daily, you just want to make sure you go back to youtube.com/JazzEdge beginning April 1st. That's my JazzEdge channel. And then, like I said, make sure you do the confirming of the subscription. And then when you are at the channel, you're going to see this Noble Guide to Jazz Piano. See that playlist right there? All right, this playlist right here. That's the one that you're going to want to take a look at. And like I said, every day a video is going to be added there. Now, I said it's going to be free, sort of. What that means is, I know some of you have asked, are you going to be able to get access to the sheet music? You will be able to get access to some of the sheet music. You might be able to get access to some of the backing tracks, but obviously I'm not going to put all of it out there for free. Some of it is going to be reserved for members. And the other important thing is it's not going to stay on YouTube for long, okay? I haven't made a firm decision yet, but I'm not sure if we're going to go day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 30, and day 1 will still be there. We might get to day 5, and day 1 might be gone, right? So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you get in. You're going to want to make sure that you look at them. I will leave them up there for at least a few days, but I do not know how long they're going to be up there, and I guarantee they will not be up there forever. They will be taken down. But I'm doing this because April is Jazz Appreciation Month. So I'm basically making it so that, hey, look, anyone can see this lesson, anyone can learn from it, anyone can participate. But if you really want to be able to get into it and watch all the replays and get access to all of it, and of course, everything else on the site too, because there's a ton of other information, then you'll want to be a member. There are 2 different memberships that we have right now. There is a JAZZEDGE membership, and there's also a Noble Piano membership. And you can get onto the site. If you get on the JAZZEDGE, you'll see the pricing, and right underneath in a black box it says, or maybe you're interested in a Noble Piano membership. If you click that, that'll take you to the Noble section, and you can see what that's all about. Basically, Noble Piano is a smaller, focused subset of JAZZEDGE lessons. So you get a smaller set of the JAZZEDGE lessons. If you want all the lessons, then you subscribe to JAZZEDGE. If you want just a smaller subset of the lessons, then you subscribe to just Noble Piano. The Noble Guide to Jazz Piano is going to be available for my JAZZEDGE members, my Noble Piano members, and my Piano with Willie members. So all 3. So if you're a member of any of those 3 sites, you will have access to all of those lessons. And if you happen to be catching this and you're like, hey, what's Piano with Willie? There's no more memberships to Piano with Willie. It's like if you have a membership to Piano with Willie, you can keep it, but you can't sign up for a new membership to Piano with Willie. It's just JAZZEDGE or Noble Piano or Homeschool Piano if you're an absolute beginner. All right. All right. So the other thing is, please be sure to join the Facebook group, all right? If you have not joined the official JAZZEDGE Facebook group, please do so. Just go back to facebook.com/group/Piano with Willie. Unfortunately, I couldn't switch it to JAZZEDGE because it was already set to Piano with Willie, but that's the official Facebook group. Or if you just do a search for JAZZEDGE at Facebook, you'll see the group. Go ahead and join the group, and we would love to have you in the group. All right, so questions. Let's see, I got a couple of questions here. Mike had a question, is the following common when learning the piano? I might spend 20, 30 hours learning, for instance, one of your standards lessons. For me, I own it, but after spending so much time on it, I never want to hear that song again. Is that normal? Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, that's the song I'm going to have to play when I die, right? Sorry to be crass, but I hate that tune. I can't stand that tune, all right? I just don't like it. I don't want to hear it. New York, start spreading the news. Oh, that's another one. I can't stand New York, New York. Now, hey, I'm not saying if you love those tunes, great. Just for me personally, I don't like those tunes. I've played them so much. I've heard them so much. I'm like done with them. So yes, that is normal. It's, human nature. There's going to be, you're going to go through phases. But I'm going to share with you another concept that is really important for this. And that is that go wide rather than deep. All right, so a lot of times we go deep on a song, and that means that we practice one song and we get tunnel vision on that one song for days and weeks and months and months and months, and we just try and get every little nuance and every mistake fixed, and the problem is that we end up burning out on that song. So what I find is a better approach is take a concept, like if you're doing the step-by-step standards. All right, being able to play so being able to play like shells in the left hand while playing the melody. Okay, do that. And now rather than okay, now let me get it with the tension. Let me do locked hand style and all that. No, rather than doing that kind of stuff on that one song and spending months on it, instead now take the concept of doing the shells and the melody and move it to another song. Right? Okay. All right, so I go through 3, 4, 5 different songs taking that one concept. So now I'm going wide. And the beauty of that is now you start to own the concept. And really, if we really think about it, that's really what you want. You want to own a concept rather than owning a song. Because owning a song is great, and having the repertoire, obviously we need the repertoire, but our repertoire is going to change over the years. I don't play the same songs that I played when I was in high school or when I was in college or when I started gigging. Your repertoire changes. So the concepts move from song to song, but if you never really learn the concept because you just focused on that concept just on one song, now it's very difficult to take it to another song, to another song, to another song. So then what ends up happening is when you move to that next song, it seems like you're starting from scratch trying to learn it. Versus take a concept, a simple concept, shells in the left hand, melody in the right hand, and then move that to 5 different songs. Well, now guess what? You start to now understand that concept of shells in the left hand, melody in the right hand. And then that means you pick up a brand new tune, and now, okay, well, at least I can get shells in the left hand and melody in the right hand. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Sonny asked, perfect time for piano practice these days. Thank you for doing this, Willie. Absolutely. Svetlana, why is audio off? I don't know. I'm not sure why you're not hearing. So Jim asks, are these reviewable? I missed a couple. Yes, all of these sessions are going to be in that Noble Guide to Jazz Piano on the site. Okay, so I'm going to be adding some of these pre-sessions as well, so they will be available. This one is also going to be available on the YouTube channel. Okay, so I will put this on the YouTube channel in that playlist. So again, be sure to go back, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, take a look at that playlist. Okay. Janetta, can you mention whether or not the courses you refer to are available on the Piano Willie site for those who are still members of that site? Yes, all those courses that I mentioned are still at the Piano Willie site, and you will also get access to the Noble Guide as well. Linda, I pay $39 a month. That means that you are a JAZZEDGE member. Does that include this? Yes, absolutely. So you are like the cream of the crop member. You have access to my entire library except homeschool piano. All right. So you have access to all of the Noble lessons, all the Piano Willie lessons, all the microsite lessons, and you will also have access to all of this as well. What you want to do is just make sure you go to courses, and you're going to see a course. It's not there yet, all right? So it will be there in a few days, but you're going to see a course that says Noble Guide to Jazz Piano. I'm probably also going to make kind of like more of an announcement on the site as well, and kind of draw attention to it as like, hey, look, this is brand new. And thank you, Linda, for being a member. Also, Janetta as well, and all of you members. I really appreciate it. It really allows me to do what I love to do because of you, so thank you. Neil, what's the best way to develop arpeggios in the left hand? Well, I have my 6 arpeggio techniques lesson. That would be a great way of doing it. Besides that, just go through one arpeggio, pick like, maybe dominant 7ths. You can go around circle of 5ths, circle of 4ths, all right? But you want to like really go nice and slow, pay attention to your fingering, and also the key to arpeggios is that cross, okay? Preparing that cross. Right? Because if you don't prepare the cross, then it's like, it's you're gonna get a what you call it? It's not gonna sound good. All right. So like really preparing that cross and focusing on that 6 arpeggio exercises is a great lesson for that. And for those of you that don't want to subscribe, just want to like download and buy the lesson, well, if you go to thepianolessonstore.com, that's where I sell my individual lessons. I don't put new lessons up there, but I have a bunch of I have hundreds of my older lessons. 6 arpeggio exercises is one that's in there as well. So you can go in there, you can purchase it, download it, you own it forever. There's no subscription charge, right? Alan, I memorize the progression as I learn a song, but then if I don't play it for a while, it's hard to pick it up totally from memory. Is there a way to categorize my music to make it easier to remember? Yes. So one thing I know that you've done, Ellen, I believe you've done, is the memorization and analysis lesson. So you definitely want to make sure you do that if you haven't done that. You want to analyze your songs. The other thing to do, I had one around here, but I don't think I have it anymore. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so one thing you could do is, one thing I used to do is, take your songs, right, and just photocopy them, whatever, print them out, and then staple them together, okay? So you take this with you, right? You just fold it up, stick it in your pocket, your purse, or whatever. Take this with you, and anytime you have a moment, go through the song. And then what you're doing is you're going through the song, you're trying to see if you can memorize the progression. Now, when you analyze, There's like really like college level, like, you know, whoa, there's a 5/7 of 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, all right. So if you see like C7 or C major to A7 to D minor to G7, you could just look at that as like, okay, 1, 6, 2, 5. Is it a 1, 6, 2, 5 progression? No, you would get that wrong in college. It's a 1, 5, 7 of 2, 2, 5, 1 progression. But at least you get the roots. So you're just trying to establish that root motion. It's a lot easier to memorize 1, 6, 2, 5 than, well, it's a C, then it goes to an A7, then D minor, then G7, because then at least if you get C, A, D, G, remember now, when we are playing the piano, there are several elements that are coming together all at once. And if we just real briefly talk about those, the first one is kinesthetic, right? Or muscle memory, right? So when you play a C major triad, you don't think about what a C major triad is. You just play it because you've played it 1,000 times, so you know that's what it is, right? But if I say to you, okay, now I want you to do all the inversions and play like a root in the left hand, well, now you might have to think about it a little bit more because now we're bringing theory in. So that's the next thing, theory. So we want to learn a certain amount of music theory. Okay, so then I do that, right? Right, so I don't have the muscle memory. I need to go by theory, right? So then I go, right? The third thing, what I'm doing right here, is ear. So this is where we also use our ear as well. So a lot of times, like students have asked, like, oh, you know, should I be a better ear player, or I only play by ear, or should I read music? You know, should I learn more music theory? First of all, okay, again, no bull. Okay, it's going to tell you right now. Anybody that's saying like you don't have to read music, you don't have to learn music theory, or you know you could just play by ear, like my personal opinion. Stay far away from that because that's not good advice. Because the reality is you want to be able to do it all. Why would you want to limit yourself? I have never had a student come to me and say, you know, boy, I learned how to read music and I'm really pissed off at you, Willie Mayette, that you taught me how to read music. Or now I know more theory and how dare you teach me more theory because now I can compose my own songs and I'm better at improvisation. Right? You understand the ridiculousness of it, hopefully. You want to learn all of it. And that's what I call being a total musician. So you have the kinesthetic, you have the theory, you have your ear, right? So all three of those together is what you use. So if you know 1, 6, 2, 5, then when you start to sit down and play the chords, all right, 1, 6, 2, 5. Well, now wait a second. That was supposed to be an A7. That's where your ear kicks in. So anything that you don't know theoretically through your analysis, now your ear will start to help with that as well. Perfect case. You'll hear me mess up melodies all the time, right? So I'm like trying to remember melody, especially if I haven't played it in a while. Right? So I'll mess up melodies, and then that's where my ear kicks in. As long as I know where the melody starts, then I can figure out the rest of it by ear, and then if I go through it 1 or 2 times, then it's fine. Then I got it, okay? So as far as memorization goes, you are going to forget your songs. This goes for all of you, okay? You could spend the next 50 years memorizing tunes, and then you stop, like, for 5 months, and then you forgot the darn tune. And it's the most frustrating thing ever, and you are not alone, and I have the benefit of being able to see thousands of people write in the same thing. I keep forgetting my tunes, okay? So you're not alone. That means that we all suffer from it. So if we all suffer from it, how do we overcome it? And how you overcome it is you try and increase your music theory a little bit more, right? Now, you can also work on ear training as well. There's ear training lessons on both the JAZZEDGE and Piano at Willie sites. So take a look at those lessons as well. Like improving your ear is never a bad thing, right? Learning how to read music, improving your music theory, ear. And I know, I get it. I'm throwing out all this stuff and it's like, hey, great, now just another thing to do, right? So you do that if you have time. And if you don't have time, then maybe you just shelve it for right now, keep it in the back of your mind, and then when you do have some time, then throw in a little bit of ear stuff, right? But knowing that it's kinesthetic, it's which is muscle memory, right? Like learning it and like muscle memory. Then it's music theory. The more music theory you know, the better. And then the more that your ears improve, the better. Okay. All of the jazz piano theory lessons are on the JAZZEDGE site as well, so you can go through all of those lessons. Those are great for all of that. I assume this is not someone's name, Fire Tablet. This must be just a generic name. I'm a new member to JAZZEDGE, working my way through Faster Fingers Volume 1 to make progress. Takes most of my piano time. Should I back off a little bit, even though I'm pleased with my improved left-hand capability? So when it comes to practice, it's best if you focus on one or two main concepts. So I have always maintained that you should have a foundational and fundational approach to practice. Foundational, fundational. So foundational is rhythm, reading, technique. You should be doing something in there, okay? Fundational is songs, styles, concepts, all right? So that might be where you're working on a song, you're working on a concept, okay? So the fundational, you should only be working on one or two at most. So that means that, well, in foundational, you should be working on at least one. So in foundational, if you're doing faster fingers, that would be fine. That's a technique thing. Work on that. And then you could pick one other thing over here in the foundational. Maybe you're going to work on a song, maybe you work on the blues, maybe you work on improvisation, whatever else that is, okay? If you have 30 minutes, split it half and half. If you have 45 minutes, I'd say technique, about 15 minutes is probably good enough. Then focus 30 minutes over on the other stuff, okay? Foundational should be about 30% of your practice. Okay, so like when I sit down and practice, I'll always start with some type of technique stuff. A lot of times technique stuff that I'll do, like, I might just go through major scales, right? And go right, from one to the next. It's a lot of times I'll do this kind of stuff, like go like D flat, right? And then come down the next one, then go up the next one. That's a great exercise, 2 octaves, okay? A lot of times I like doing chromatic scale as well. All right, do chromatic scale. I like doing quartals. All right, if you like the quartal stuff, warm up quartals and pentatonics. And there's another lesson called warm-ups and pentatonics, I think it was. So just do a search for warm-ups. I think I put it as one word. That's on Piano with Willie and JAZZEDGE as well, right? So those lessons would be great for that. I also have an advanced technique boot camp, which has, like, for those of you that are like, playing and like you've been playing for a few years, definitely check out that advanced technique boot camp. That's both on the Piano with Willie site and on the JAZZEDGE site, okay? So that's a great one. Advanced technique boot camp. Sonny, I missed something in the rhythm course regarding counting dotted quarter note rest, okay? Been trying to play songs D, ba, and da for notes played, and I can use for the 8th note rest, but when I have either dotted quarter note rest, not sure how to vocalize it. Okay, so the vocalization approach works about 80% of the time. Okay? Vocalization doesn't work for 16th notes. And I even say it in many of the lessons that when you come down to 16th notes, it's best to use the subdivision method. So there's basically 2 methods. There's the vocalization method, which I didn't create vocalizing, but the das and the dibas, that's something that I created, okay? So that vocalization method is one way of approaching rhythm. The subdivision method is where instead of saying quarter notes as da, 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 we say 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of saying 8th notes as D, ba, D, ba, D, ba, D, ba, we say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right there you can hear how 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it's like a bobblehead, right? I mean, doing that subdivision method, the 1 and 2 and 3 and, does not work well for swing. If it was straight, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, yeah, sure, it sounds great. But swung, it sounds really wonky and very unnatural. That's why we do the vocalization specifically for 8th notes. When we get into things like dotted quarter notes or 16th notes, 16th notes should definitely be 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. That's 1 E and a, 2 E, and so forth. Dotted quarter notes, you could go da, ba, da, ba. So that's 1 and 2 N, 1 and 2 N. So you could have like more of an elongated da. We're actually going to be talking about that in the No Bowl Guide. In one of our rhythms is going to be that da, ba. Right? So you can use that vocalization approach. It becomes more of a feel thing. And I don't have a problem with that because rhythm is a feel thing. All right? So we can intellectualize rhythm, of course, and then when we start subdividing, we really intellectualize this. But when it comes down to it, you have to feel your rhythms. Right? And one way of thinking about that is just think about gospel choirs, right? How they, right? They move around a lot. Well, why do they move around? They move around not because it looks good, but they move around because they're feeling the beat, right? Right? So that's like, it's internalizing that rhythm. So having an elongated da, ba, all right? I'm okay with that as long as you're feeling that pulse, right? Da, ba, da, ba. All right, so that's what I would use for that dotted quarter note. All right, so I think that is it for those questions. Let me just see. There were a couple of questions that might be in here. Do you need a membership to buy the sheet music? I can't figure out how to make an account. I don't sell sheet music individually. I know some other piano teachers do that, but the reason I don't do that is because the sheet music links up with the lesson. Okay? And honestly, I just don't think that you get the full benefit if you just have the sheet music. Because if you don't have the music, if you have the music without the lesson, then it's really kind of like in a vacuum. You don't really understand what it is that's going on with the music. And the other thing too is that, you know, if you just want to like just play and you don't want to learn it, well, then there's plenty of places you can go ahead and download sheet music. My goal is to teach you how to learn this stuff so that then you don't need me anymore. So then you can just go and do it on yourself. So to set up an account, just go back to JAZZEDGE.com. And what you can do is the easiest way to get onto the email list is just take that quiz right on the front page right there, and you can go ahead and get right into the email list, or you can purchase a membership right on the main page. And of course, just want to remind everyone, and this is especially good, you know, since we're going back, and this will be on YouTube, I will sometimes get angry students. Like they'll get all angry at me. So I'm on the JAZZEDGE page. You see this right here? This little help button? This is on every single one of my pages. Every page. And if you click on it, you get this. You got a question, right? And it has, like, you could search for help. There's some help articles in there and some popular things, right? But then if you scroll down, it says contact us, okay? And if you go right there, all you do is put in your name, your email address, your subject, and that goes right into what we call our ticket system, right? It's the email system. And I'm going to tell you a secret, all right? Shh. I answer the tickets, okay? Jamie is over there, right? Love of my life. She's over there, and she answers tickets as well. And it's me. This isn't like somebody, you know, in, you know, La La Land and internet land that's answering the tickets. So I will be answering tickets. I answer tickets because I want to see what it is that students need help with. I give that level of support to my students. So if you're frustrated thinking like, oh, I can't get, all you got to do is just write in. So just be sure to write in. Just go to that help button at the bottom of any of the pages. And if you don't know that, if you can't get to the help button, the email address is support@jazzedge.com. Support@jazzedge.com. And then I will answer your questions. That goes right into the ticket system as well. You'll see that there are paths here. Okay, and I have some of them here, and I am going to be adding more of these. But here's the reality, and this is what I don't like about these paths. And I don't like them at any site. I don't like them at my site. I don't like them at any site. I've been on other sites. I take a look at what else is out there, and I don't like them because, like, realistically, how can I make a path, say, for, you know, learning how to improvise. Like, how can I do that in which is going to work for every single student? Now, I know there can be arguments back and forth, like, well, you can give a plan, da, 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 da. Yes, I can, all right? And what I have done is I've laid out all of the courses so that they really, you could do them right in order, right? So, I mean, you go to core piano, you go to 30-day playbook, you go to rhythm essentials. If you don't need it, then just skip to the next one. Okay, how to read music? I'm good with that. All right, piano essentials beginner. All right, let me take a look at that one. Oh, piano essentials advanced. All right, let me take a look at that one. All right, get faster at the piano. Yeah, I'm interested in that. Let me do that. All right, learn jazz piano basics. Right, so everything is right in order for at least like the first 25 courses. So you can really just go right into the courses and go right down the list. They're all ordered in the way that you should take a look at them. But really, the real power is in the group coaching. And I'm also fleshing out the community area a lot more as well. So you're going to be able to get into the community area and then be able to, you know, do more things in there. The Facebook group as well. Because a lot of it is one-on-one to a certain degree. So for you, David, you know, you might work on something and then you might go in a path, you might be like, yeah, but I really want to like focus on this. All right, well, that isn't the path you should be in. You should do this lesson and then this lesson. And that's difficult to know until I get to kind of see where your playing is. And then I get to hear from you what your goal is, okay? Because in reality, if I just give you a list of lessons to work on and I've never seen you play and there's no follow-up one-on-one, then I'm not really doing a good job as a teacher, because at a certain level, education has to be some type of interaction. So if you want that interaction, there's many ways of getting that with me at JAZZEDGE. Number one, join in on the group coaching, all right? That's the best way. Number two, go to the Facebook group. Post your question there in the Facebook group because either I can answer it or maybe another student can direct you. Number three, go into the community area. Post your question in there. I don't answer questions in the community area as much because it's a lot easier when I have a piano in front of me that I can kind of show you something rather than writing out, well, it's a C minor 7 and it's C, E flat. Yeah, that gets a little bit more challenging and time consuming. And then it's very easy when writing in text for the answer to get lost in translation. So I find it a lot better if I can make a video or I could show you during coaching. So the answer to your question is yes, there is absolutely a plan that you could follow. You could take a look at the piano transformation paths that are on the site. You could do the courses right in order. And then from there, the other options, the group coaching, the Facebook group, and the community area. All right, so again, sorry guys for the little hiccup there. Let's see. Oh, Sonny asked, do I voice all the rest as well as notes, or how do I account for them as I moved into the voice notes played? Yes, so when you have an eighth rest, you would voice it as either if it's the beginning, or you usually don't have to if it's afterwards. So if it's like D, right, and then, you know, if you had two eighth notes and the first one was a note and the other one was a rest, you could say ba right there, right? So D, ba. Right? And you can kind of voice it so you have a placeholder for that. Other rests like da and do, yes, you would definitely want to voice those as, you know, so you have a placeholder so you don't rush that rhythm. Yeah, okay, good. And Neil, you had one about rubato versus locked in rhythm. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that is, but Nueva, can you show the example of a site? Can you show the example in the site of a group coaching? Yeah, actually I can. So if you just go right back to your dashboard, I'm in my test account. Just go to coaching, and then I'm likely going to be moving this coaching stuff over to the community area. It'll be a little bit easier because, like, you see all the past coaching sessions here, okay, and then you can watch the replay. And then here, now one thing you don't see here is you don't see, you can hear everybody. So one other idea is doing this kind of stuff where you're like, See how I come up to my thumb, but then notice what I do with my pinky. See how I grab that in like that? Right, so I had just played, this is Jerry's video. Let's see. You can kind of see like, junk. All right, so you can see like students will send in their video and I respond to them and they ask their questions. One thing you don't see here, because this is like the edited video, what you'll see when you log into the coaching is we use Zoom, and if you've ever used Zoom, you see like everybody's picture there in like a gallery view, right? And then you see me, and then, you know, blow me up so you can see me full screen. But you do get a chance to see everyone else as well when using the software. But I don't do that when, you know, for the edited video. All right. Yes. So I'm sorry. So Neil, what is the question about rubato versus metronome versus rubato? I'm not getting the question. Virgil, I'm trying to go wide with my repertoire. Any tips after stage 3 shells and right-hand chords? That's where I struggle. Well, for you, Virgil, you play really darn well, my friend, and you should be thinking about rootless chords. All right, that's where I would be. For you personally, what I would say is you should get that iReal Pro. You should then be doing your rootless chords while playing along with those backing tracks. That's it. All right, and then after you get your repertoire together, then, well, what do you think it is? It's improvisation. So then you move on to your improvisation from there. All right, so that's what you should be focusing on. And make sure you come to the live event in October. Yes, we are going to have another live event this October. We were supposed to have one in May, but, well, we know what happened with May. All right, any other questions? Sorry, I just scrolled down and I saw them. Is Zoom good for online band rehearsal? I love Zoom. I think they're doing great things. No. I mean, I'd say try it, but the problem is that you have something called latency. And, you know, I don't want to get too technical, and you might already know what that is. But basically, latency is that there's a delay. So just like in the old TV shows, how there used to be a delay if somebody said, "You son of a," you know, like they could bleep it before it came out. Well, there's a delay with this as well. So depending on where the band members are, and depending on their internet connection, and depending on how the stars have aligned that day with the internet, you might get too much of a delay. The other thing too is that you'll notice that the sound is kind of compressed, right? So if I just play, right? Now if I really start to play heavy, you can hear that it really starts to overwhelm the system. Now, if you have a drummer who's playing and a bass player and a guitar player and someone trying to sing, it becomes very, very difficult. So I have heard of some technology out there that allows kind of like real-time rehearsals, but unfortunately nothing is going to come like even remotely close to being in the same room with them, right? So that is the unfortunate reality that I have found. Now, if you find something different, please definitely write in and let me know, because I would love to share that with my students. But what I have found is that, yeah, it's usually doesn't work. All right, Neil, what I mean is playing freestyle rhythm versus with a metronome. All right, nothing wrong with playing freestyle rhythm, right? And I'm not saying that you should play with a metronome all of the time. But what I'm saying is that you should play with a metronome and see, can I play with a metronome, right? So that's the first question you should answer for yourself. So if I put on a metronome, you know, can I be with the metronome, or is it? Right there I wasn't even close to being on the metronome. The metronome was over here, and I was on another planet. Right? So if you could play with a metronome, then sure, absolutely, playing free. You know, I mean that's one of the things that we definitely want to do. You know, as a pianist, is be able to play free. But you got to make sure that you can play with the metronome. And anytime you're doing something technical, then yeah, why not play with a metronome? And remember, metronome or drum beat. You know, again, if I want to put on like silly, right? Right, so I can play with a drum beat as well, as long as I'm staying with it, okay? And this is metronomic, so when I put this on, that's perfectly in time. Now, obviously, I'm not saying play with that drum beat, right? You could put on a different drum beat, but what I'm saying is that playing with the drum beat, a metronomic drum beat, okay? Not like some drummer that you found off of YouTube who was playing. No, get something that's metronomic for this type of practice, or the metronome. As long as you could do that, then yeah, then take some time and play free and rubato, right? Not everything, not all practice has to be or should be with a metronome. You also don't want your playing to be too, you know, metronomic. Sometimes it's good to have that, you know, give and take, all right? Let's see. Any recommendations for online rehearsal? Well, that was kind of like what I just talked about. Unfortunately, I don't have any. I mean, you could try using Zoom and see how it works for you. I would love to hear, you know, your results. Like anyone who's doing that for band rehearsal, if it's working for you, please let me know. Write in. I would definitely like to know. Melvin, when I play a chord in my left hand and it requires one of the notes of the chords to stop, a quarter note, but another note of the same chord is a half note, I'm having issues with my fingers continuing. All right, let me see if I can understand. When I play a chord in the left hand, it requires one of the notes of the chords to stop, but another. Okay, I think what you're talking about is like, you know, again, if I just take something like this, like a triad, like, you know, where it's like I have like one note that one or two notes that have to. I think that's what you're talking about, where like one note might be holding down when you have to play some other notes. That is hand independence, and that is where there's a great exercise I have called the diminished rack exercise. So just do a search on the site for the word rack. R-A-C-K. It's the diminished rack exercise, kind of like the old torture device. That's a great exercise for building up that independence of one finger like that. You want to be careful though. Actually, I have all of the, in that exercise, I go through all of the, you got to be careful gotchas, because you can hurt yourself if you're not careful, but I know I talk about it there. Yeah, that would definitely help. Piano essentials, again, scales, chords, chord essentials, like doing all of that stuff, building up that technique is only going to help all of that finger independence, and also the faster fingers lessons, those would help as well. All right, cool. Someone said Jam Kazam. Never heard of it, so you guys will have to take a look at that yourself and see if that works. All right. So we are good. So again, thank you guys for joining me. Sorry we had that little bit of a hiccup there. Not sure what happened there, but be sure, again, like I said, make sure you go back, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, turn on your notifications, and then come April 1st. Be checking the JAZZEDGE YouTube site, because the JAZZEDGE YouTube channel, because I'm going to be laying out all of those videos. Okay, in fact, some of them are up there right now. They're just hidden in draft, waiting to go for April 1st. All right. So anyway, look forward to working with you guys on it. It's going to be super fun. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff. You're going to also want to make sure you're part of that Facebook group as well, because I'm going to be posting stuff in there. We're going to be doing some interactive stuff in the Facebook group. So April is going to be a big, big month for us. And hopefully all of this stuff that's going on in the world will start to settle down a little bit. And on a personal note, be good to yourself, be good to others, make music, stay healthy, okay? Making music is one of the best ways of dealing with life in the best of times and in the worst of times. Sitting down, improvising, being creative, sharing what it is that you've made with others. Post your videos on that Facebook group. It's a super way of, years ago when I was starting my business and I was like working business, it's like mission statement. And I thought about like, well, what is the mission statement for JAZZEDGE? And the mission statement that I came up with years ago, and what I'm looking for is I have a cup, but I don't have one here. It actually has the mission statement on it. But my mission statement, as corny as it sounds, is to bring art and beauty through music one student at a time, right? And that means that I think that there's no shortage of bad news out there, right? You don't have to go too far to find bad news. So isn't it nice when we can bring some beauty and culture and arts and goodness into the world? And what have we seen during this moment right now? You see so many musicians who are posting videos of themselves. I've been doing it on my Facebook pages as well. I've just posted another one today, right? So isn't that great? Well, you don't have to be a professional musician to do that. Anybody can do that. And I encourage you all to do that. Whether you're a student of mine or not, share your talent, share your gift, because even though you might think, oh, all I could do is, guess what? It's still going to put a smile on somebody's face. So go easy on yourself. Like, put the whip down for a minute. Make a video, share it, and just say, hey, look, this is for everyone. I hope you have a good day, all right? So this, especially right now, we should always be doing this, but especially right now, be good to yourself, be good to others, stay healthy, and I look forward to making some music with you in April. It's going to be super fun, all right? So until then, I will see you online. I'll see you in the Facebook group, and I will see you guys soon. All right, take care.